My mother-in-law stole my baby's DNA behind my back. Now she's telling everyone I'm not the real father. I'm a 34-year-old man, and until 2 months ago, I thought I had a perfect life. A beautiful wife named Clara, a newborn baby boy, Elliot, and a home filled with laughter, love, and everything I thought family was supposed to mean. Then her mother, my mother-in-law, Helene, decided to destroy it all. It started small, little comments, little digs. He doesn't really look like you, does he? Funny how he has none of the family traits. I'm sure he'll grow into it. I brushed it off at first. Helene was the kind of woman who liked to control everything. Holidays, decorations, even the type of nappies we bought. I figured it was harmless, just her way. But then it got worse. She started showing up uninvited, just checking in. Always when Clara was out, she'd hold Elliot, rock him, and give me these strange looks. Studying him, studying me. I thought I was going insane. One night, Clara and I got into a stupid argument, nothing serious, just the usual exhaustion of new parents. I went for a walk to cool off. When I came back, I overheard something that stopped me cold. Helene, on the phone, whispering, "He doesn't suspect a thing, but I'll find out. I have to know." I felt physically sick. The next day, everything spiraled. I found out, by accident, that she had taken one of Elliot's used pacifiers, put it in a plastic bag, sent it off for a private DNA test without telling anyone. I lost it. I confronted her, screamed at her in the middle of her own kitchen while Clara cried, begging me to calm down. And then the words that broke me, "You deserve to know the truth." Helene spat. "He's not yours. I'm sure of it. And when the results come back, everyone will see what kind of woman your wife really is." I looked at Clara. Shock, hurt, confusion. And for a split second, I saw it. Doubt. That's when I knew. The damage was already done. Even if the test came back fine, even if everything was normal, my family was broken. And the worst part, I don't even know if I trust my own wife anymore. I don't know what to believe. I don't know who to trust. All I know is that the results are coming. And whatever they say, nothing will ever be the same. The morning the DNA results arrived, I swear I felt like I was going to vomit. I hadn't slept all night. Clara had barely spoken to me since the fight. The atmosphere in the house was thick, like breathing through tar. The email came to my inbox because I demanded Helene give me the login. She refused at first, of course, acted shocked, indignant. But I threatened to file a police report for invasion of privacy, and that's when she finally cracked. The file was sitting there, just a PDF. Cold. Clinical. For pages that could destroy everything I knew about my life. Clara sat on the other end of the couch, her hands trembling in her lap. She kept whispering, "I didn't do anything. I swear. I love you. Please don't do this." But the thing is, I didn't know anymore. I clicked. I read. And my entire body went cold. 99.9999% probability. Paternity confirmed. I sat there frozen. My vision blurred. The ground felt like it was tilting under me. I was his father. Elliot was mine. The one thing I still believed in, the only thing I still had, was true. And yet, I looked at Clara, and I couldn't even feel relief. I couldn't find the words, because something had broken inside me, and I knew, deep down, it wasn't something I could fix overnight. Clara burst into tears. She reached for me. I pulled back, not because I hated her, but because I didn't know who I was anymore. We sat there in silence. Helene, of course, refused to apologize. She claimed she was only trying to protect me, said she was worried because things didn't add up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. Instead, I packed a bag. I told Clara I needed space, that I wasn't leaving for good, but I couldn't breathe inside those walls with all those lies, spoken and unspoken, pressing down on me. I moved into a cheap hotel on the outskirts of town. Just me, a suitcase, and the crushing weight of betrayal I couldn't shake. And then, 2 days later, the second blow landed. A message from a blocked number. Just a photo. Clara. Another man. A bar. Her hand on his arm. Both of them laughing. No caption. No explanation. I felt my heart stop. My breath locked in my throat. I stared at that image until my eyes burned. I forwarded it to Clara. No words. Just sent it. She called me 23 times in the next hour. I didn't pick up. I couldn't. The paranoia, the fear, the betrayal, they were eating me alive from the inside out. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I asked myself, what if Helene wasn't completely wrong? What if there's more to this than I ever imagined? I don't think I'll ever forget the feeling of staring at that photo. Clara, smiling, laughing, leaning in close to some guy I didn't recognize. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. It could be innocent, a cousin, an old friend, something harmless. But no matter how many ways I tried to rationalize it, My gut told me the truth. The photo didn't look like friendship. And the worst part, I couldn't stop hearing Helen's voice in my head. You deserve to know the truth. I ignored Cora's calls. I ignored the text messages that started pouring in one after the other. Desperate apologies. Explanations. Please call me. It's not what you think. Over and over again. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I was drowning. I sat alone in that hotel room for hours, numb, detached, flipping the same photo open on my phone like some kind of punishment. Eventually, I forced myself to move. I met Emilian, my oldest friend, the one person I could still trust. We sat in his kitchen, 2 beers on the table between us, while I told him everything. The DNA theft, the results, the photo. He let me speak without interrupting. When I finally stopped, he leaned back and said, "You need to talk to her, face to face. Not through screenshots, not through panic." I knew he was right. That night, I texted Clara one sentence. "We need to talk, tomorrow." When I arrived at the house the next morning, she looked wrecked, pale, hollow-eyed, shaking. Elliot was in his crib, oblivious to the storm around him. I barely looked at her when she let me in. "I don't know who sent you that," she whispered immediately. "But it's not what you think. That's an old friend from university. We ran into each other by accident. He's gay, for God's sake. He's married." She pulled out her phone, showed me messages, photos of him with his husband, dates, locations. And for a moment, I wanted to believe her. I did believe her, but something still felt wrong. I asked her, point blank, why she never told me about this before. She hesitated, looked down. "I knew how everything looked," she murmured. "With your mother breathing down our necks, with you already doubting me, I didn't want to make it worse." It made sense, but it didn't erase the crack Helene had forced into us. We sat on the couch, side by side, not touching, while Elliot babbled in the next room. That's when Clara said something that chilled me to the bone. "She's not going to stop, you know," she whispered. "My mother. She's never going to stop until she breaks us completely." And deep down, I knew she was right. The DNA was just the beginning. The lies, the manipulation, the photo, whether it was real or fake, whether innocent or not, Helene had found a way into my head, and she wasn't going to let go. I left the house that night more confused than ever. But one thing had changed. I finally realized I wasn't just fighting for my marriage. I was fighting for my sanity. Because when someone decides to destroy you from the inside, sometimes the scariest thing is how easy it is to let them win. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the cheap hotel bed, staring at the ceiling until sunrise, replaying every moment, every conversation, every glance from the past year. My mind wouldn't stop spinning, pulling apart every memory and looking for signs I'd missed. By morning, I was exhausted, physically, emotionally, mentally. I felt like I was hanging by a thread. I called in sick to work. Just sat in that room, phone in my hands, staring at it for hours. Clara kept texting, "Can we talk again? I miss you. I need you to believe me." I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But the truth is, something inside me was already broken. And then, late that afternoon, I got another message. This time it wasn't from Clara. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Just 2 words, "She's lying." I felt the blood drain from my face. My hands shook as I typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. I waited. Minutes passed. An hour. Nothing. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. The DNA test had cleared me. The photo had, supposedly, been explained. And yet, somehow, I trusted Clara less than ever. I finally broke. I went back to the house. Clara was waiting. She looked awful, eyes red, her face pale, but when she saw me, she smiled like it was the first time she could breathe again. I didn't waste time. "Who's texting me?" I asked. "Who's playing these games?" Her smile faded instantly. She looked genuinely confused, scared, even. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. I showed her the message. She swore she didn't know, swore she hadn't told anyone, swore she'd barely left the house since this nightmare began. And for a second, just a second, I believed her. I sat down. She made tea. We talked. About us. About Elliot. About everything. For a brief, fragile moment, it felt almost normal, almost safe. And then my phone buzzed again. This time, the message hit me like a truck. It was a photo. May, Clara, Elliot, taken from outside the living room window. That same night, I dropped the phone. My skin crawled. Clara looked at the screen. Her face drained of color. She clutched Elliot instinctively, her hands shaking. "What the hell is this?" she whispered. We both knew. This wasn't about the DNA. It wasn't about jealousy. This was something darker. Helene. It had to be her. Who else would do this? Who else would sink this low? The realization made me feel physically sick. We locked the doors, closed the curtains. I barely slept that night, jumping at every sound, every creak of the floorboards. By morning, Clara looked at me with red, exhausted eyes. "She's going to ruin us," she whispered. "I don't know how, but she is." And the terrifying part was, I believed her. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning. The day after we found the photo, the one taken through the window, I think something inside me finally broke for good. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even panic. I just went cold. Ice cold. Clara sat across from me, at the kitchen table, her hands trembling around a mug she wasn't drinking from. Neither of us spoke for what felt like hours. The silence was unbearable, but every time I tried to open my mouth, the words caught in my throat. We knew it had to be Helene. Who else would do this? Who else even cared enough to orchestrate something this sick? The photo was taken from a weird angle, low to the ground, blurry but unmistakable. Someone had been standing right outside our house, camera in hand, while we sat inside trying to piece our lives back together. It made my skin crawl. It made me want to burn the whole house down. The worst part was the way Clara looked at me. There was pure terror in her eyes. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw it. She wasn't faking it. She was scared, just like me. "I'm going to the police," I finally said. My voice didn't sound like mine. She nodded silently. No protest, no drama, just quiet acceptance. I filed the report that afternoon. The officer on duty looked vaguely uncomfortable the entire time. Probably thought I was some overreacting husband. But I showed him the photo, the messages, the timeline. He typed it all up with the kind of slow, deliberate movements that told me this was going to end up in a drawer somewhere, forgotten. Still, it was something. A paper trail. A start. I stayed at the house that night. We double-locked everything. Left the hallway light on like scared kids. I didn't sleep. Neither did Clara. Around 3 a.m., I heard Elliot cry. I went to the nursery, picked him up, sat in the rocking chair, and held him while the house creaked around me, like it was alive. I don't know how long I sat there, but at some point, Clara came in. She didn't say anything, just stood in the doorway, watching me. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something real crack through the numbness. I still loved her. That made everything worse. The next morning, things got worse. Helene showed up, uninvited. Again. Clara answered the door before I could. I watched from the hallway as her mother stood on the doorstep, her face pale and pinched like she was the one being attacked. "I just wanted to check in," she said sweetly. "I heard there's been some tension." Clara lost it. I've never seen her like that. She screamed at her mother, really screamed, called her insane, called her dangerous, told her to get the hell away from our family. Helen's expression barely changed. She tilted her head, smiled that small, smug smile that made my stomach twist. "I only ever wanted to protect you," she murmured, "from people who aren't who they seem to be." That's when I stepped in. I don't even remember crossing the hallway. One second I was standing there, the next I was in her face, shaking with rage. "If I see you near this house again," I said, my voice low and shaking, "I will call the police. Every single time. You are done? Do you understand me?" For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Fear. Shock. I don't know. She left. But I knew. We both knew. This wasn't over. 2 days later, another message arrived. This time it was worse. A video. Clara. A man. A hotel room. The footage was shaky, blurry, but the implication was crystal clear. I dropped the phone. My heart stopped. My vision blurred. "No," Clara whispered, when she saw my face. "No, no, no, no." "What?" I showed her. She gasped, covered her mouth. She looked like she was going to faint. "It's not me," she choked. "I swear to you, that's not me. It's fake. It's..." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. But the doubts, they came back like knives. She swore she'd never been in that hotel. Swore she didn't know the man. Swore it was fabricated. Deep fake. A setup. I didn't know what to think anymore. We sat on the floor together, both shaking, both broken. And I realized then that this wasn't just about our marriage. This wasn't just about Elliot. This was psychological warfare. Someone, Helene or someone else, wanted to obliterate us. And the terrifying part, they were winning. I swear to you, that night after the video nearly killed me, I sat there on the living room floor with Clara beside me, both of us wrecked, both of us terrified, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. I couldn't tell what was real anymore. The video, the messages, the photo through the window. My mind kept spinning with one thought. If someone was willing to go this far, where would they stop? I didn't sleep, not 1 minute. I just sat there in the dark, my heart pounding in my chest, watching over Clara and Elliot like a man guarding the gates of hell. The next morning, I made 2 decisions. 1. I was going to the police again, no matter how useless they'd been. 2. I was getting proof. Real proof. No more, he said, she said. No more paranoia. I needed the truth. I needed something to ground me. I booked an emergency consultation with a private cybersecurity investigator. His name was Malik. Ex-police. Mid 40s. Sharp-eyed. No nonsense. I showed him everything. Every text. Every image. The video. He didn't flinch. He just nodded slowly. You're dealing with someone who either has money, technical skills, or both, he said. This isn't amateur harassment. Someone wants to destroy your life, piece by piece. I asked him if it could really be fake. The video, the photos, the messages. He nodded again. Deep fakes are easy now. Manipulated metadata, spoofed numbers. This isn't beyond reach. The real question is, who's paying for it? Who's orchestrating it? I didn't even need to say her name. We both knew. Helene. I walked out of that meeting with one thing I hadn't felt in weeks. Focus. I hired Malik on the spot. Gave him full access. Told him I didn't care what it cost. I wanted the truth. Meanwhile, back home, Clara was unraveling. She barely ate. She barely slept. Every time she heard a car door slam outside, she jumped. I caught her crying in the bathroom more than once. But the hardest part, I didn't know if I could fully trust her. That's what Helene had done. She'd planted that rot so deep in me, that even when I wanted to believe, even when I looked into Clara's terrified eyes, and saw nothing but desperation, there was still that small voice in the back of my mind whispering, what if she's lying? And that destroyed me. A few days later, Malik called. He sounded excited. Got something, he said. Meet me in person. I dropped everything. We met in a cafe on the edge of town. He pulled out his laptop and showed me the breakdown. The video. Fake. 100%. Deep fake stitched from social media images. Metadata all wrong. Hotel footage manipulated. The texts. Spoofed numbers. Bounced servers. Professional level crap. And the kicker. The origin IP linked back to a rental address under a fake name. One that, with a little digging, connected to a property owned by Helen's sister. I sat there in stunned silence. My hands were shaking. My throat dry. Do you want to take this to the police? Malik asked quietly. I nodded. Slowly. Yes. I want to end this. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't going to be clean. This wasn't going to be simple. I was fighting someone who had crossed every line imaginable. Someone who had no intention of stopping until she broke us completely. When I got home, I told Clara everything. Showed her the proof. She sobbed. Fell to her knees. Hugged me like her life depended on it. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I hugged her back. Tight. Because I finally saw the truth in her eyes. We were both victims. And we were finally on the same side. But the fight was far from over. The day we went back to the police with the evidence Malik had gathered was the day I finally felt like I could breathe again. Not because it was over. I knew it wasn't. But because for the first time, we weren't the ones running. We had proof. Hard, undeniable proof. The officer in charge, Detective Morell, took us seriously this time. He sat there, eyes narrowing as Malik laid everything out. The deepfake analysis, the metadata corruption, the links to Helen's extended family. It was surreal. Watching this uniformed stranger nod slowly, realizing this wasn't some messy family drama. This was calculated psychological abuse. It's not the kind of thing we see every day, Morell admitted. But I've seen enough stalking cases to know when someone's gone too far. We'll open a formal investigation. Clara was shaking beside me, the whole time. I kept my hand on her knee, not because I fully trusted her yet, but because I knew she needed it. We left the station in silence. The air outside felt cleaner somehow. Lighter. That night, we sat on the couch. Just the two of us, no Elliot, no distractions. And for the first time since the nightmare began, we talked. Really talked. Clara told me everything. About her childhood. About the way Helene had always controlled her. The emotional manipulation. The constant guilt. The toxic dependency. She's always done this, Clara whispered. Not like this. Never this extreme. But she's always found ways to pull the strings. She ruined my dad. She tried to ruin me. And now, her voice broke. Now she's trying to destroy the only good thing I ever built without her. I listened. I let her speak until there was nothing left. And something shifted between us. The cracks were still there. The scars would take years to heal, if they ever did. But for the first time, we weren't pointing guns at each other. We were standing on the same side. The next few weeks were tense. The police were slow, careful. They interviewed Helene discreetly. Searched the property connected to her sister. Found burner phones, encrypted laptops, payment receipts for the DNA test, and the digital forgeries. It was enough. She was charged. Harassment, cyber stacking, defamation. The day we got the call, I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel joy. I just sat down on the floor of the nursery, Elliot in my lap, and let the tears come, because it was over. Or at least, that's what I thought. A few days after the charges were made public, I got one last message. No number, no sender. Just 5 words that chilled me to the bone. She's not the only one. I dropped my phone. My stomach twisted. I didn't know what it meant. I still don't. But that night, I held Clara tighter than I ever had before. I watched Elliot sleep. I checked the locks 3 times. Because even when you win, some wars never really end. I wish I could tell you the story ends neatly. That once Helene was charged, we went back to normal, whatever normal was supposed to mean. But life doesn't work that way. The message, she's not the only one, haunted me day and night. I read it over and over, searching for some clue, some angle I'd missed. I showed it to Malik. He traced everything he could but hit a wall. Burner route. No traceable origin. No way to tell if it was a real threat, or just someone stirring the ashes. I could have ignored it. I probably should have. But by then, I wasn't the same man I'd been before. I couldn't switch it off. I couldn't sleep. I started double-checking everything. Cora's phone. Our security cameras. Elliot's daycare. Every shadow felt like a threat. Every knock on the door made my heart race. I was unraveling. Clara noticed. She tried to help. Therapy. Time together. But she was unraveling too, in her own way. Even though the DNA results had proven my paternity. Even though Helene was facing charges. The emotional damage was done. Trust, once cracked, is never quite the same. One night, I found myself sitting on the edge of our bed, staring at my hands. They were shaking. I didn't even realize it until Clara sat beside me, her fingers brushing mine. I miss us, she whispered. Her voice broke. I miss the way we were before all this. I wanted to tell her I did too. I wanted to tell her I still loved her. But the words caught in my throat. Because the truth is, I wasn't sure who I was anymore. The police case dragged on. Helen's lawyer tried everything. Mental health defenses, character references, even painting me as controlling. I sat in that courtroom and listened to people I barely knew dissect my life like I was an exhibit. In the end, she took a plea deal. Community service. Restraining order. No prison. It wasn't justice. But it was something. We moved. Small town. Different region. New names on the mailbox. I changed my number. Deleted every social account. Clara left her job. We started over. At least on the surface. But some things followed us. I still wake up some nights thinking I hear footsteps outside the window. Clara still checks the locks 3 times before bed. Elliot, blissfully innocent, laughs and plays, and grows. But I sometimes catch myself watching him too closely, looking for signs of someone else's fingerprints on our lives. The worst scars aren't the ones you see. Sometimes I wonder if the message was real, if there really was someone else in the shadows, or if it was just one last psychological bullet, fired by a woman who refused to let go. I don't know, and maybe I'll never know. But here's what I do know. I survived. We survived. And every single day, no matter how broken we are, no matter how much fear still clings to our skin, every day I wake up and I choose to stay, to fight, to rebuild. Because that's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It can steal everything. But if you're still breathing, you still have something left to fight for. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if we'll ever be whole again. But I'm still here. And for now that's enough. Follow me for more stories.